You know what's going on, y'all? It's your boy SoSo, in case you ain't know so, and welcome back to another dope episode of Sports with SoSo. Coming to you live, y'all. This week, we bring you the instant reaction to the Heat's first two playoff games versus the Knicks. The Panthers survive the Boston Bruins and get a big win in Toronto. The Marlins get another series victory heading above 500. And we bring you the rest of the weekend in sports. It's time to take a ride, y'all. Let's go. Tough game, dog. Tough game. Today was a tough game, man. But you know what? It was a dope weekend, right? Action-packed weekend, and there's been a lot happening since we've been able to get together, big dog.
Yeah. South Florida has been on fire the last couple of days. A lot of good fire, a lot of good, we've been bringing the heat, so to speak.
We've been bringing the heat, man, and our sports teams have definitely made it something to enjoy, right? Even when things don't look as promising as they could be, but we've gotten a lot of joy from these teams down here in South Florida, man. They've been really, giving the fans their money worth for sure. And you know what? We got to start with the Heat, right? I got my Sports with SoSo hardwood background. They have that huge upset series win over the Bucks, and heading into game one against the Knicks, it was like, well, what are Heat going to be able to continue this momentum? And they did, man. They actually went out there and got a huge win while I was in Brazil Sunday. I know that you were watching the game here, and a lot as the rest of the Heat fans were, but the biggest takeaway for me in that game, right, is not only the continuance of Jimmy Butler being Jimmy Butler, right? It's more the fact that this dude just finds ways to perform even when he's not playing his best, or he's hurt, or he's, the game's out of rhythm, whatever the case may be. When it comes to the playoffs, this dude really knows how to turn up, and he really helped he get a big victory in game one, 108-101. We actually won another fourth quarter. I think this is the third or fourth quarter that the Heat have won in these playoffs. A couple against the Bucks and now against the Knicks. I don't know, man. I was, after we beat the Bucks, I kind of felt very confident about this Knicks series, right? You have
to feel confident. Jimmy Butler puts up 97 points in the final two games of the series to close out the Bucks. 56 in that game 5. Yep. It was just absolutely unreal what he was able to do, and that's the reason we have that confidence now going forward. I didn't have it. I know I can't speak for everybody, but I didn't have that confidence in this team going into the postseason, because this season, if you followed along wherever you could, damn you Bally's, you saw a team that was very inconsistent, where it really wasn't even streaky, like good streaks or bad streak. It was just kind of like all over the place. Just really couldn't carve them out. When we needed to, certain opponents we should have dominated. Excuse me, we couldn't close out. And now we get into the postseason, and Jimmy Butler is Jimmy Butler, and we saw that in game one against the Knicks. But we also saw what we were missing in game two. Now, credit to the boys. Hell of a game by Coach Spo and the gang. They played their hearts out there with no Jimmy Butler. And they had their full squad. I repeat, they had their full squad. Including Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson, who put up 30 points on us here in game two.
23 in the second half. Huge,
yeah. But Jimmy didn't get to play, and that's where we missed the most, was in crunch time at the end of the game. When we were, they got the lead back. It was a couple, few seconds left, not a lot of time left, and we really missed Jimmy there in that moment. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. And, the way that the game started out, you kind of felt like, all right, the team knows that this is going to have to be a team effort in order to get this victory on the road, right? To get the back-to-back victories in New York. Not an easy thing to do, right? Especially when you're facing a full Knicks squad that has their main engine, which is Brunson. He makes everything go for those Knicks. in play. But he came out strong, man. You had a really good performance by Caleb Martin. He's one of the guys that have been consistent throughout this entire season for the Heat, right? We've applauded him and his efforts, mostly on the defensive side, and today he put it up on the offensive side as well.
Yeah, he took a mean spill into the Knicks bench area. Yeah, man. And he was kind of holding his back and stuff. So hopefully he's all right.
Yeah, Strus too. He had a back injury and he stepped out in the third quarter, came back. But in the first quarter, both teams hit a lot of threes, and I kind of felt like that was going to be the rest of the story for the game, and it kind of was, right? Because even as we got into the second quarter, there was a lot of good rebounding, but Barrett was hitting threes, Randall was hitting threes. He got fouled on a 3-point attempt. You know what I mean? Like the game plan for both of these teams, weirdly enough, was to shoot more threes, right? And we know that the Knicks struggled shooting threes in game one. Brunson was 0 for 7, I think. RJ Barrett was like 0 for 5. So you knew that they were going to come out and shoot a little bit better. But even with all that, right, with the Knicks hitting the 3-ball and getting 19 from Barrett in the half, and Randall putting up 16 in the half, they still controlled the game. They were up 54 to 51. Like I said, it was a team effort in that first half. We only had one guy in double figures, which was Caleb Martin. He had, I believe, 11 or 12 at the half. And the Heat shot better from 3-point line. So it was kind of leading in the direction that the Heat wanted it to go to. And even in the third quarter, the Heat ended the third quarter in the 77-76. But they didn't attack the free throw line, right? They had their big men in trouble, Mitchell Robinson and Hartenstein. Both of those guys had foul trouble in the second half, and I felt like we didn't go at them enough, right? And you can tell in the amount of free throw shots that they had versus what we had in the game. It kind of just, I don't want to say gave them extra points. It obviously did, but when you only shoot 17 free throws and they shoot 21 of 30, you kind of gave up a lot of extra points there, which obviously kind of came up in the end as the Heat lose 111 to 105.
I mean, that's another reason where we miss Jimmy, right there. Yeah. You just look at the free throw stat line, and it wasn't where we are normally. And Jimmy's the bulk of that. So you do that, you control the game. You control the tempo of the game. You're able to slow things down and control the clock, control the game, especially down the stretch when you need to the most, Yeah, we weren't able to do that, especially with a couple, bad calls there that, at the end of the game.
Let's talk about that.
There was one just in particular where we got off the shot, but right before the 24 seconds, so they didn't call a violation on it. It grazed the rim, and then Gabe Vincent grabbed it and put it back up. They waved it off. Yep. They said it was an air ball. They said it didn't hit anything, and there was no replay or anything.
No, and they didn't even let Spo challenge it. And he was.
I didn't understand that. I saw him signaling and waving for it. I don't understand why they didn't let him do that.
And it was weird because it did suck the momentum out of the team. It totally did suck the momentum out of the team because the Knicks were able to come down. Brunson hit a shot, which kind of fueled him to hit another couple of 3-pointers to get the Knicks.
There was one of those Brunson shots I didn't agree with, that it was the one on the foul that Bam kind of bulldozed his way through to try to defend on it. And they ended up letting that 3-point stand.
That one happened before the Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, whole debacle, and it was such a weird call because they did take the time out to review it. You know what I mean? Like they went to look at the tape and stuff like that, and they still gave them the 3-point shot and the foul. And that shit totally shifted the momentum towards the Knicks. It got the crowd into it, you know what I'm saying? Because the crowd was pretty much out of it. And credit to the Heat for playing as hard as they did this game, really, because every time that the Knicks try to make a run or try to hit a big three or something like that, he came back and got, an answer for them every single time. I do want to, kind of shout out one more person who played really well today, Gabe Vincent. Gabe Vincent had a hell of a fourth quarter. He hit some big shots. He also forced a lot of shots towards the end of the game, right? A couple of threes. I'm guessing that was by design. But that just leads to your point where we miss Jimmy down the stretch, right? In the last 4 minutes of the game where things need to be a little bit more precise, a little bit more well executed. The Heat didn't have that today.
No, but I will agree with you, man. We got to shout out everybody, man. The whole doghouse.
Duncan.
They stepped up, even though we lost, Duncan Robinson, he stepped up, had a bunch of threes. You had a guy, Haywood Highsmith, which a lot of people don't
Yes.
know. I had a lot of people asking today, like, who's this guy out there? And I was like, he's on the team. He's been on the team for a little while. He contributed. He was out there, just a big body, getting some rebounds, some second chance points. Kevin Love, Cody
played good
Zeller,
defense.
Cody Zeller got a new nickname, White Big Sloppy. And everybody was out there contributing, man. Everybody was out there moving, shaking. Again, I'm not upset with this, loss. A loss is upsetting, obviously, but
right.
The fact that they had their entire squad at home and they just barely beat us, they ended up, coming from behind. We had a lead and we slipped, we got away from us. We were missing our number one guy.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt in my mind, Jimmy Butler's in that game. We closed that game out. So
for sure.
Heat in 5.
It's looking very, very favorable for the Heat. And I gotta mention something. The Knicks ended that game on a 24-12 run. That just shows you that once they got the momentum, they were able to keep it. And our execution or poor execution down the stretch led to them getting good shots and getting to the free throw lines and offensive boards. We gotta definitely shout that out. In the last 3-4 minutes of the game, that dude Hartenstein killed us on the offensive board. He had 3 offensive boards back to back to back. The Heat went small versus their big lineup because their bigs had foul trouble, and we couldn't take advantage of it, for whatever reason. But you're right. You have to feel good about this effort, right? When you if I were to tell you before the game, hey, you're gonna get 20 points from not Bam, and Kevin Love's gonna score less than 10 points. You got Caleb Martin scoring 22 points. You got Gabe Vincent with 21 points, and Bam just with 15 points. This was the game that we were hoping that he comes out a little bit more aggressive, and he did play well.
This game.
Yeah, especially this game, right? No Jimmy,
every
no
game,
hero.
Dog, every game. I'm expecting Bam, especially in the postseason more than ever. I'm expecting Bubble Bam to be back.
Yeah, and if you look at his stat line, it's not bad, right? He shot 50%, 5 of 10, made 5 free throws, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. But that point total, 15 points, I felt like he didn't do enough when he had the matchup that he could have gotten and just go for it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's because he was trying to play more team ball, right? Or if he was just being a little bit hesitant. But whatever it is, it's starting to get a little bit, not that it's starting, it is frustrating to see Bam not be that guy for us when we kind of need him to step up, right? But you know what? The Heat were playing with house money. Going up 1-0 in New York after Sunday was a huge advantage for us. Right now, we have, I think it's 3 days before the next game. Next game is on Saturday.
Man. Yeah.
Healthier Jimmy. You give time to Strus and Martin to kind of rest up and heal themselves up and go at it in game 3 at home. 3:30 tip off, but this game particularly was rough, man.
Did you say 3:30?
Yeah. It's a 3:30 start. There's 3:30 start on Saturday.
I didn't know it was that early in the day. All right, good to know.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm here for, dog.
That's what you're here for.
That's what I'm here for. But I just want to kind of emphasize that this team effort that we got was really refreshing to see, because if you insert a guy like Butler and the team gives you this type of effort, right, where all these guys are passing the ball, that's one thing that I noticed today. The ball movement on offense was on point. There was multiple possessions where we're just passing the ball around, finding an open shot, letting Martin hit a shot, letting Gabe Vincent hit a shot. Strus hit a couple of big threes in the third quarter. Yeah, I feel like that's the key to this success, because if not, when it comes down to the crunch time, Jimmy's going to take over. And if we get this effort on game 3 on Saturday, then I don't think the Knicks stand a chance in that game, because the Heat are going to feel like, man, we really do have control of this particular series, and we can control, our own destiny, which is super weird to say because of the way that the season started and kind of went. But you see now that if our main guys are healthy, right, and I say our main guys not being our main players, but like our rotation guys that we rely on for heavy minutes, 15, 20 minutes a game, right? Like Kevin Love, he played 24. Strus plays 25 minutes. Duncan Robinson played 21 minutes. Kyle Lowry played 31 minutes. He had a rough shooting dates, right? If you're gonna give those guys the amount of minutes and they're able to give you something, then yeah, it just makes Jimmy's job a lot easier, and he's not going to have to go out there and score 50 points, right? Because he didn't have to even score 30 points to beat the Knicks on the first game. He only ended up with 25 points that game. Let's see, man. Let's see what happens in game 3. It's going to be a huge game for the Heat, right? We got to go out there. It's going to be a sold out game for sure. I'm hoping that everybody shows up, at least on time to, how that he have that stigmata of always being late.
It's not happening. And
it's 3:30, dog.
Right there. It's not happening.
For sure. But like, you gotta, dog, one game, show up one game early, dog. Come on, Heat fans, get it together.
Probably midway through the second, dog.
No.
You'll see that arena full midway through the second quarter.
For sure. And it's going to be rocking. and I feel like we really do have a chance to take a hold of this series, go out there, win game 3, and, just see what happens after that. I don't feel too bad about this Heat loss. This team was terrible on the road this season, Joel, dog. We were 17-24. We were a terrible road team. And these guys have been putting up excellent road performances, not only in Milwaukee, right? And in New York, and even in the losses, right? Because even when we lost to Milwaukee, we still kind of showed up in that one game.
Yeah.
Let's see, man. Game 3 is on Saturday, like I said, 3:30 ABC, and then Monday it'll be at 7:30. We might be recording, we might not. We'll let you guys know. We'll keep you updated, man. But this is going to be part of the post game show that we're putting up on our YouTube channel. Every game, we're going to be bringing you this post-game reaction, whether it's me by myself, me with Joel, me with a guest. It's always good to get the energy out immediately after the game and kind of share it with the rest of the Heat Nation, man.
Sometimes it's pent-up anger. Sometimes it's joy. You're going to get a little bit of both with this Heat team.
For sure. And we're used to that by now. Man. But yeah, man, let's go Heat. They got a really good chance to get this game 3 and make some noise in the playoffs, man. Continue to make some noise. Yeah, man. Team that we definitely owe some type of respect to and apologies to is this Florida Panthers team, dog. Man.
Vamos Gatos.
Hashtag time to hunt. Bro,
a team we almost, some would say we wrote off.
Not some. I would say we wrote them off. We did, and I just mentioned it to you before we started recording how, the owner came out today on the radio and was like, man, this team has really survived the roughest of the roughest patch, right? They literally been in playoff mode for the last 2 months, fighting for their season, fighting to get into the playoffs, fighting to stay in the playoffs, going down 3-1 against a Boston Bruins team that you and I know, and we're both not hockey guys, but these guys were out there breaking records, NHL records, most wins, points, goals, all types of shit. And the Panthers just went out there and didn't phase them at all. They went out there, came back in the series, won 4-3 in an overtime thriller. Shout out to Carter Verhaeghe. This dude has been one of the best players that we've had this season, on top of Keith Matt Tkachuk. It's just weird how this Panthers team has been able to literally flip a switch since going down 3-1 and find a new version of themselves, because this is not the team that you and I saw this season, bro.
No. It's so crazy, the parallels between our Heat and this Panther team. The just the inconsistencies all season. A great team, that has pretty much stayed the same for the most part over the last couple seasons, and built off, developing players and things like that, and just being lackluster this whole season. Like I talked about earlier with the Heat, just not developing streaks and just not having enough closeout games against big opponents, that we should be beating whenever they're meaningful games as far as your standings and stuff like that. And now it's forget about it. Everything's out the window. When it's in the playoffs, it's playoff time. Everything goes out the window that, as far as, records and all that stuff. It's all back to, ground zero. Anybody can win.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
This Panther team figured something out. I don't know what it is. We've talked about whether if there was the coaching, the play calling, the scheme. Maybe it wasn't any of that, and maybe it was. But maybe it wasn't that, and these guys just needed this time to really kind of go through it and lose a few games and take a couple on the chin, and then realize that their backs were against the wall and just play like they didn't have anything else to lose. And that's exactly how they're playing right now. And if you saw that Game 7 on Sunday, I mean, what a game.
Yeah,
what a game that was.
What a game. And I think the difference for this team was the defensive effort, being put in by not only by the defenseman, but also the goalkeeping, man. Alex Lyon and Big Bob have played a huge role in this playoff push. They've been able to really keep the Panthers in games by keeping the scores low. Those 3 straight games that they won against, Boston, it was 4-3, 7-5, 4-3. And you're thinking to yourself, well, damn, Steven, you just said that, the goaltending was great. Yeah. That's because these guys are facing 50 shots a game. And if you're facing 40 to 50 shots a game and you're letting in 3 goals, that's a good number. You know what I mean? Because again, we're playing the best of the best right now in the Boston Bruins. Right. Go out there, beat them, right, to advance, to play the second best team in the NHL this season in the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then not only that, but you go out there tonight and you get a 4-2 victory that was well earned. A well-earned 4-2 victory with another great defensive performance. It just shows you that this Panthers team, when they're clicking, they can be very dangerous because they do have the pieces. And that's something that you and I have talked about a bunch of times, right? You look up and down this roster, and it's kind of the opposite of the Heat roster, right? Where the Heat roster is probably top-heavy. This Panthers team is very well balanced. Very well balanced.
I would say they're deep. If you're talking, perspective to the Heat, I would say they're even deeper than the Heat. They have a superstar in Kachuk, and they have a great supporting cast in Verhaeghe and Barkov and Montclair, and you name it. You got a bunch of guys out there. But 4-2 in this first game against Toronto. They were tied and they were able to break away. I think that 4th goal was an empty netter at the towards the end of the game.
They got a huge 3rd goal in that 3rd goal came in towards the end of the second period. I think it was about 2 minutes or less left in the game, and Carter Verhaeghe got a breakaway, passed it to Duclair. Duclair gave it right back to him. Perfect timing. He was able to break away and hit a beautiful wrist shot to the goalie's left-hand side and beat him. And then once he beat him, and I think that the Panthers went into the locker room thinking, all right, guys, we got the momentum here on our side. Let's push. Let's make it tough for Toronto to get any type of shots off. And they did. They buckled down on defense and, kept it at a 2-goal game for them. A huge, impressive win. 4 straight wins now for the Panthers in the playoffs. That's wild.
You gotta love it, man. And then Game 7, man. I gotta go back to that real quick, man. That Game 7 against the Bruins. You just can't count these Panthers out at this point. You cannot count them out, no matter what the situation is. Even if the situation is less than 2 minutes left in the game and they're down 1 goal, they're gonna hit that goal. They're gonna take it to OT, and then they're gonna win in OT because that's what this team can do.
They're the hashtag cardiac cats.
Cardiac cats, baby. This is the hottest team right now in the NHL. You guys gotta be tuning into these Panthers games right now if you're not on board already.
Exactly. And don't give me that excuse of the Heat are playing. You have a phone, you have an iPad, you have a laptop. You guys can make it happen. All right.
Follow along at some point.
Yeah, man. And check in on this Panthers team because like you said, Joel, dog, this has been one of the hottest teams in the NHL for sure. And this has been one of the hottest teams that the Florida Panthers have had in a long time. Even with the success from last year, it wasn't like when they got in the playoffs that they were just dominant. No, it feels like they're really finding their strength now. I got to give a big shout out to Carter Verhaeghe. Not only did he score the go-ahead goal, but he also became the Panthers' all-time leading scorer in the playoffs. I think he has 12 or 11 all-time goals, which is amazing for a guy who hasn't even been here that long, right? To perform at the highest level, which is the playoffs, with a line or within lines that are stacked with talents, right? We talk about Barkov, you talk about Kachuk. Like these are guys who are big names in the world of hockey, and this dude Carter Verhaeghe is really holding it down for the Panthers, man.
What about the defenseman that had the 2 goals in Game 7? Was it Montour?
Yes, Montour. He's a badass, man. He's a badass.
So like crazy that the amount of speed that puck gets off that guy's stick, man. It's crazy.
Dog, I honestly, it's physically crazy because you're talking about a puck that's this size, weighs a good amount, and for a guy to be able to hit that puck so hard with so much momentum to get the miles per hour up and
just how quick it happens, dog. Like it's so like boom, boom. Like he realizes he's in the right place at the right time, and it's like, okay, pull the trigger, whomp, and bro, it's just in a split second. It just so happens so fast that even the goalie does not have the time to just kind of get it to the right place, man. And yeah, he was a recipient of a couple goals there that were real nice. So shout out to him.
Shout out to him, and that's Kachuk. You know, Kachuk had 3 assists in his first game, you know, against the Maple Leafs. This dude has really taken on the role of being the leader, which is kind of refreshing to see somebody who just comes into a team this first season, had a big role in his previous team in Calgary, comes into this loaded Panthers team with the expectations after a big trade that we trade Hubie and damn, the other guy escapes me right now. But you know, you make the trade, you bring him in here, and you don't know what to expect if he's going to be able to step up when we need him to. And all he's done is shown that not only is he a leader, he's also very capable playmaker in crunch time. And I think that was an element that was definitely missing on this Panthers team last year. And the fact that they have it now and they're able to go toe-to-toe with 2 of the best teams of the NHL in the Boston Bruins and Toronto Maple Leafs might be something special cooking here for the Panthers.
Up one is very, very nice.
I mean, look at that. One. Bro, 2 8 seeds going up 1-0 in their perspective matchups. How crazy is that, Joel, dog? Like, and again, because you know, we get to see it because we've been tracking these guys all season, and to kind of see these guys have that success right now, it just makes me super happy for these guys. And it's like, why couldn't you guys do this throughout the season?
Hey.
But I'm glad you're doing it now instead.
They figured it out at the right time.
They did, man. They really did. So shout out to the Panthers, dog. They're out there making it happen. Their next game, let's see, I believe it's Thursday. Yeah, it's gonna be Thursday in Toronto. One thing I did find out about this Panthers team, you know, after they got the Game 7 win, which I think was a very smart move by the coach. After they got the Game 7 winner, they stayed in Boston that night and then flew out on 1 day's rest to Toronto to kind of stay fresh. Didn't come back home, kind of stayed in that mentality of like, hey, we're the road warriors. Teams are counting us out. Nobody's giving us a chance. Let's go out there and stay unified and stay together and go out there and make some history. And these guys did, man. Freaking Panthers, bro. Playoff hockey. I said it today in SoSo's 3 things to watch. It's the best thing to watch, man.
It's not easy, bro. What those guys do, just like physically and on the ice, and then on top of that, you're asking these guys to stay on the road after a grueling series, a 7-game series, and then they pull out that Game 1 victory, man. I mean, that tells you something about this team we got here. So a lot to be excited for. Looking forward to Game 2.
Game 2 is going to be amazing, man. Like I said, Thursday, 7 o'clock, and then you have Game 3 back at home, 6:30 p.m. Puck drops there. And a little interesting side note on that one as well. I read today that the Panthers are restricting sales to the games to only U.S. citizens. So, sorry, Toronto. No love lost, but we got to make sure that we keep that home court advantage or home ice advantage here.
Go do something else.
Go do something else. Figure it out. Watch on TV, and we'll see you guys back in Toronto for sure. That's gonna be great, man. That's gonna be great. You know, I think it's time that we really start to show the Marlins a lot of love, man. A lot of love. They're coming off a big sweep against the Chicago Cubs at home. Win that series with some impressive offensive victories, right? You got the 3-2 win in a close game. You got a big win against 7-6, and then another win 4-3. Just going out there and winning these games that, you know, previous seasons we've seen the Marlins lose, right? Because either the bullpen can't hold it down. You know, we give up 4 runs in a bad inning where we have an error, and then all of a sudden everything unravels. But for some reason, man, this Marlins team really finds ways to stay competitive. And I don't know about you, man, but I wasn't expecting that from this Marlins team this season, man.
I mean, I guess we were. You know, we were always expecting our team to do better than the previous year, and last year was kind of abysmal. It wasn't great. You know, we didn't have the greatest season, even though Sandy had a Cy Young type season or whatnot. But we're playing a lot better this year, man. There's a lot of buzz around this baseball team right now, man. I don't know if it was a change in manager. We don't no longer have Mattingly. So what's our manager's
Schumacher.
name now? Schumacher. Schumacher's doing some good things in there with this group, and you have guy like Luis Arraez, who's every time we talk about the Marlins right now, we're going to talk about him as he's our hottest bat right now for the Marlins, which is reassuring.
Hottest bat in the MLB, bro.
Period. Yeah. No,
in my opinion, I mean, listen to the stat. Players, this is a list of players with batting average of 425 or better, with 5 or less strikeouts in the first 25 games of in the last 25 years. Luis Arraez. That's it. That's
a pretty fire stat.
Dog, this guy.
But I just don't know where he stacks up against the rest of the league right now through all these games or whatnot. But he's playing great for us. He's hitting and some guys can hit and it doesn't matter. It won't reflect on the game and how it impacts the game. He hits and it impacts the game. They're hits that drive and runs and will change the game a couple runs and give us the lead now. So it's good. It's good. It's fun. It's fun to see the Marlins win.
Hell yeah. Right now, his 435 batting average is leading the league. He's got a 60-point batting average over Matt Chapman, over Ronald Acuna Jr., Bo Bichetti, Brandon Marsh. All these guys are big names, and big bats. And, for a guy who just won an NL batting title to come out here and reproduce another season like that, you and I talked about it. Like, I don't think that would have been fair to expect him to do that. But for him to come out here and just perform the way that he has for this Marlins team has been beyond impressive. It's been beyond impressive. And I think it's really helped settle the team down when it comes to offense, right? Because if you think about it, him leading the batting average thing, right? It's just like, well, what about the rest of the team? Well, you still got Jorge Soler hitting home runs. You got Gary Cooper hitting RBIs. You got Jazz hitting timely hits and getting on base and doing his thing as a leadoff bat. He's not too far behind because he has 5 home runs as well, 13 RBIs.
Didn't somebody have an inside the park home run recently?
I think it was Brian De La Cruz. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was him.
That's impressive. You don't know how often
it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy, man. But the Marlins are staying competitive. They're staying competitive, and that's all we've wanted from them. Go out there, win series, stay above 500. Right now, they're 16-14 after today's loss, 6-0 loss to the Braves. Which kind of sucked, man, because Sandy Alcantara just got racked up today, and it's kind of, when we talked to Puello, he kind of gave us the nod that Sandy will come around and this and that, but I don't know, man. I feel like Sandy has to kind of wake up a little bit and get his stuff together, because that's 4 starts right now that he's had, or 5 starts that he's had right now, and he hasn't been looking impressive. Just 1 victory on the season. Not the Sandy that we were expecting.
Yeah, I think after today's loss, it's definitely safe to make the headline, is something wrong with Sandy Alcantara? Or is there something to worry about there? Because he's not having the same, type of season that he had last year. Last year, he was our highlight. Right. When he was on the mound, we were going to get, 7 solid innings and then throw it away, in the bullpen. Yeah. And this year, he's not looking like himself. I mean, I don't know if he's still in preseason mode. Maybe he's still in spring training camp. I don't know how long these guys take to get loose, but I'm hoping, I think a pitcher of his caliber can figure it out, he just has to get over this mental hurdle at this point now. Now it's just stacking up against him. It's kind of like one of those snowball effects.
Yeah, he's got to find a way to shake the cobwebs, man, and get back to his dominant self, because I really like the way the bullpen has been performing. We talked about AJ Puck last time and how he's leading the team in saves. He has 5 now on the season. He's also leading the team in wins, along with Andrew Nardi, who has 2 wins. Both are relief pitchers. These are guys that when the game is getting close, they're able to keep the game shut down for the opposition and keep them without scoring runs, to allow the Marlins to get a game hit, leading win hit in the 7th inning or in the 8th inning or something like that, and then go out there and shut it down in the 9th and get the victory. I feel like that's the little difference that we didn't have with the Marlins last year. I felt like if it was a close game and it got to the bullpen was going to definitely throw it up. Now in this short season, right, that we've had so far, the Marlins have really seem to fix those problems. And if they can fix those problems for the long term, right, being the rest of the season, then I feel much more confident in having Sandy come around, and having Luzardo continue to be a great pitcher, and having Edward Cabrera do his thing and be a good third type of starter for us. And then trying to get the good performance every now and then from guys like T-Raw and Braxton Garrett. This team is going to be very interesting to follow this season for sure, because they have the pieces. It's evident they have the pieces.
We do. We definitely got to get out to a game soon. It's definitely a bit more worth than it has been in the last couple seasons to go watch a game. In my opinion, the product is looking a lot better. But even all things aside, as far as how we're performing on our end, we know our division is tough. And I know I just recently saw a snapshot. I think we're like in third or fourth place. I know the Phillies are behind us, but they're getting Bryce Harper back. The Mets are ahead of us. Talk to me a little bit about that. How's the rest of the league looking right now in our division?
Well, right now the Marlins are third in the NL standings, NL East standings, which is just fine in my opinion, right? Because again, you're talking about two other teams that are ahead of us in Atlanta and the Mets that have heavily invested in their squads, and it's not necessarily that they're miles ahead of us, right? We're only half a game behind the Mets, who are 3.5 games behind the Braves. We're right on pace there with the Phillies, right? They're struggling to be at 500. Washington seems to be the worst team in the division right now. And when you stack it up against the entire league, right, or at least the entire conference, right, between National League and the American League, the Marlins are right there. They're right there in the mix with the rest of the teams, right? You're talking about teams like the Dodgers, Arizona, the Padres, the Cubs, Philly, the Giants, and all these teams are definitely more stacked up, quote unquote, when it comes to talent. But like we said, the Marlins bullpen has really done a great job. It's been the difference maker this year for sure to keep the games close and winnable. And when we have that opportunity, the Marlins have done a good job of getting those wins. That's kind of going to have to be the recipe for the season. Not necessarily to make the playoffs outright, but to give yourself a shot to make a wild card, right? And be in that hunt and put a lot of pressure and be competitive, right? And put pressure on the Braves and the Mets to keep winning, right? And let those guys beat each other up. And then maybe we can sneak into that second spot. Who knows? The Marlins, like I said, they have the pieces. They definitely have the talent. The lineup looks like it's starting to get there. The manager has been doing a real good job of, holding players accountable, putting together good lineups, keeping guys well rested. We're not depending on just one guy, even though Aredes is having an amazing season. We're not just depending on him, right? Jazz is having a great season. Garrett Cooper's having a great season so far. Those guys can definitely contribute to what it is that the Marlins need in order to have a successful season. Doesn't necessarily have to be a playoff appearance. We would love that, right? But just be a competitive team, put the pressure on the rest of these big budget teams, and make it fun for us, man. Make it fun for the Marlins fans to go out there and watch games and shit, and go to the stadium and have that big cubano, man. I don't know if you've seen that sandwich. It's like 8 feet long, dog.
I saw it, bro. Yeah, I think it's ridiculous, and
you need a family of 12 to finish that thing, dog.
Or just me and maybe two of my friends, depending on the night of the week that it is.
Throw me in there. After a couple of beers, throw me in there.
You never know, dog. But tomorrow's game, or today's game, as you're hearing this, against the Braves, second game in the series, is going to be an interesting one to see how we bounce back, how we answer. We just got our teeth kicked in 6-0, yesterday. So, how do we respond to that? And, especially against an opponent like the Braves. So this is going to be an interesting game here.
For sure. We got a good pitcher on the mound, Braxton Garrett, nasty left-hander. He's 1-0 on the season, 2.45 ERA. He has 19 strikeouts on the season, only giving up 1 home run. A guy who's eaten a lot of innings, 22 so far. This is a guy who can be reliable and can take you to 6th, 7th innings if he's doing well. I want to see how this team responds to a loss and bounces back. Marlins have been pretty good at home, 10-7 so far. That means that they can improve on the road, but you always want to be better at home for sure, right? I think that little boost is going to definitely help, and the Marlins can continue to get these series wins, right? We're talking about a team that barely won any series last year, and this year they've already won, I think, 5. against tough competition.
Did we just sweep the Cubs, or did we win 2 out
Yes.
of 3 there?
No, it was a complete sweep, bro.
Complete
Complete
sweep of the
sweep.
Cubs, right?
Which made it 4 games in a row that the Marlins have won, right? Because we beat Atlanta on the last game of that series against them in Atlanta, and then
Right.
come back home to win 3 straight, and then we lose this game against Atlanta again.
Yeah, Atlanta took 3 out of 4 a couple weeks last week on us.
They're a great team. They're a great team. We
always,
hate them.
They always got our number. Always got our number.
Right. We hate them, but they're a great team. And that's why we want to compete with them, right? To see if we can stick to that level or reach that level or exceed it.
Right.
Yeah, let's see, man. This Marlins team is going to be interesting without a doubt. Like I said earlier, they have the pieces in place right now. We just kind of need to, have our starter pitcher be the guy for us a little bit more, and then we can go off from there. After this series at home against Atlanta, which ends on Thursday, we're heading up to Chicago Cubs Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, start another series before we head to Arizona for another 3, and then come back home against Cincinnati. If the Marlins, like I said, man, I'm going to keep repeating this a lot, guys. The Marlins have to continue to win series. They've already won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 series so far this season. That's a recipe for success, especially for this Marlins team that is low budget, is being put together with bits and pieces. And then once those bits and pieces are finding their niche in the team, it's excelling. So we have to be excited for this Marlins team. Have to be. Let's wrap up with the Dolphins, dog. Let's wrap up with the Dolphins. We had the draft this past weekend. We saw the Dolphins make some interesting draft choices, right? I want to get your thoughts first on the draft picks. What did you think about the picks that we had?
Questionable, man. Immediate thoughts was questionable. We only had a few picks as we talked about in our preview with Martin last week, and we knew what we wanted going in as fans. What we thought the Dolphins should be looking out for, and I don't know all the players that are there, and as far as what the value is and
right.
what what you're actually getting and all that, but just immediately they were just questionable. Our first pick in the draft, the second rounder.
Cam Smith, the corner from South Carolina. I
that
think
one I was okay with. That was the one that I was
too.
cool with. I saw that and I was like, that's good. That's a good compliment to the rest of the guys that we have back there, and he can develop under like Ramsey and stuff like that, and it kind of looks like well with that scheme.
He looks like a dog. You know what I mean? Like one of those gritty, badass players. Doesn't really care about getting penalties if he's gonna shake the team up or make the quarterback go to the other side. And for this team that was seriously slacking in that department as far as depth goes, I feel like us addressing that with a player of his caliber definitely fit the mold. You know what I mean?
And I was cool with that, man. But then the next few picks after that were a little questionable. We ended up drafting another receiver and another running back with the next 2 picks that we had.
Yeah, we got not a receiver. We drafted the running back first, and then we got the tight end.
Oh, tight end. And what was the last pick that we got?
The last pick was an offensive tackle. I feel like this is just a guy for the future. Ryan Hayes from Michigan, a very good college guard, right? One of those guys that really plays well while he's in college, but he doesn't meet the quote unquote standards for an offensive tackle. They say he has short arms and doesn't necessarily have the strength. But if you can start for a big name program like Michigan for 3 years and do your job, right, then I'm guessing that you can do your job in the NFL. He played on the best offensive line in college last year, and now he gets to learn behind Teron Armstead, the ins and outs, right? We saw that this team had a lot of injuries on the offensive line last year, so I feel like there's never a bad move to get more offensive tackles, especially for this team and the type of quarterback that we have. I just felt like they addressed all the pieces that we had talked about. They pick up that running back who's a pass catching running back, Devin Achane. And he's a speedster. This is a guy who can
out of Texas A&M.
Yeah, out of Texas A&M. Had one of the fastest 40 times in the combine. And this is a guy who's going to be able to compete with a guy like Ahmed, who's going to be able to compete with a guy like Gaskins, who's going to be able to compete with these guys to steal some playing time. And if anybody gets hurt, like I said, we needed more depth in a position like that, because if Mostert was out or if Wilson was out, then you kind of saw a little bit of a big drop off there, as far as talent and explosiveness goes. Now you have a young running back who has no wear and tear on him, can really start between from the day one. He may not start, but he can, right? I just feel like the Dolphins did a good job in those first 2 picks, because the other 2 picks were kind of like hopeful picks, right? You needed to address running back, you needed to address tight end, you needed to address cornerbacks. Those were the areas that we had a lot of trouble in at last year. And when you only have 4 picks and they're second round and beyond, it makes it hard to hit home runs or hit doubles even. But it feels like the Dolphins at least had their eyes on the prize, let's say, and say, let's address these needs that kind of killed us last year when we needed to be better, or could have made a difference in a game or two, right? And having an extra game and possibly having a better playoff standing. I wouldn't give these guys a A or a B, but if you address all the needs, you're getting a C+ in my book, B- in my book.
Why do you think all the major platforms like ESPN and stuff gave the Dolphins a D or a C or whatnot? Even worse than that.
Probably because we didn't go after guys who, like you said earlier, that were probably higher rated at that time of the pick. But in my opinion, you kind of have to, especially with what we've seen with Chris Gear, right? He's been hit or miss, but lately he's been on fire in the draft. So if he feels good and confident about some of these players, then I kind of have to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I don't know if those bigger platforms like ESPN, Sports Illustrated, and NFL.com are giving him the benefit of the doubt of knowing how to find talent when you don't have a lot of room to find talent. It's not to say that the guys that we drafted don't have talent. I think Cam Smith is a hell of a cornerback. I think he's going to be a big-time player for us. And you never know what you get out of running backs, right? And usually the raw running backs come in the 3rd round or further. A lot of those guys that get taken in the 1st round either break down or don't live up to the draft pick hype or whatever. But the guys who tend to stand out are those 3rd, 4th round guys who kind of have a little bit more to play for, right? They have that. Sure. That dog in them, and they have that energy to kind of go out there and prove somebody wrong about not being picked earlier. That's why I feel heavily about those first 2 picks being really good picks for the Dolphins. The tight end is pretty much a roll of the dice, right? He's either going to be a really good tight end for us, or he's going to be another tight end that doesn't do anything for us. The offensive tackle, Ryan Hayes, I think that he's going to be the key. Even though he's a 7th rounder, like I said, he played on a very good offensive line. He's a very smart kid. 3-year starter at Michigan. This is a kid who's going to be able to come in if needed and fill in part-time or either full-time immediately for the Dolphins because of his experience. And when you're getting coached by a guy who was in the NFL in Harbaugh, you know your blocking, you know your assignments, you know how to read the playbook, you know how to get into position, because running the ball is an important thing in the Harbaugh schemes, as we've seen in the NFL and in college. And I think it's going to work for him. So I think the Dolphins did really get a steal there, because he's not one for this year. In case we need him, we can. But this is a guy who can in the future possibly be a big role guy for us, man. Because you want to get younger at that position.
If history repeats itself with this Dolphins team, we're going to see him at some point playing.
Damn, dog, no faith in the offensive line holding up?
I mean, there's going to be injuries, bro. It's a long season. So
it's part of football.
We're going to see him at some point.
For sure. We're going to see him at some point. So, yeah, I kind of feel good about this Dolphins draft. We still have moves to make in the offseason, right? We don't know who's going to get cut. There's a lot of talk around Dalvin Cook being available and being traded and whatnot. Let's see what happens. I'm excited for the season because of the potential and knowing how far this team got last year and how much further they could have gone had they played a little bit better. So I'm expecting to see that this year from this Dolphins team. I know you are too.
Oh, man, high expectations, but everything they do, it comes with a big splash, no pun intended, and we're looking forward to it. We just love to see all the moves that they're making, and can't wait, man. All the hype is real.
For sure. I can't wait to do another OnlyFans season preview. Is coming up. If you guys haven't already, you guys have to go to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, because OnlyFans last year was a hit, and this season, being a better season for the Dolphins means it's going to be a better season for OnlyFans. So make sure to get in right now, hit that subscribe button, and follow along with all the rest of the content that we're pumping out there for you guys. Doggy, it's getting kind of late, man. We got a lot of work to do on the post game.
It's about that time, dog. It's about that time.
It's about that time that we tell people to tell a friend.
To tell a friend.
To tell one more friend.
To tell all their friends.
to tell all of their friends about this amazing podcast and the talent and the stuff that we bring you. Bunch of content, not only on Instagram, not only on YouTube, but also here through whatever it is that we got. Until next time, y'all. It's your boy.
Peace.
Peace.